before we
for
get
sure.
going, Cameron, have you ever bought anything off of Etsy?
No. I literally have never, I've definitely browsed Etsy because they have very good search engine optimization, but I know for a fact that Crystal, my wife, um, has bought a lot of things, and I've heard her talking about Etsy to other people. So she's one of those, like, she's a promoter for sure of Etsy. How
Nice.
about you?
I've bought a lot of bespoke coffee equipment on Etsy, so like mods for my grinders and lots of like 3D printed gadgets. Very
Nice.
bespoke, very niche gadgets
Right,
for
right.
coffee. Etsy's great for that. So let's go
Cool.
through it, and then let's just
Yeah.
see what we learn. So first thing, Etsy's mission is to keep commerce human. So if you think about eBay or even Shopify, they really are geared towards like serving. When I think of eBay, I think of just like nameless, faceless auctions. And when I think of Shopify, I think of like big brands. And when I think of Etsy, I think of like craftspeople and individuals selling their
Yeah.
wares and their goods.
It's like a
And
farmer's
I think
market
that,
on the internet, right?
yeah, you can smell the patchouli through the browser is how I like described it on the intro. So yeah, keep commerce human, very human. And they have these like core values, which Tim mentioned: commit to your craft, minimize waste, embrace differences, dig deeper, and lead with optimism. And he gave a few examples. I thought that was cool.
Hmm.
And their company strategy, I lifted this right off of their website, is Etsy is the global marketplace for unique and creative goods. And I thought that was like a good place to talk about the marketplace as a strategy.
Hmm.
Um, so there was an interesting moment where Tim was saying in 2017 they got a new CEO, and at this moment the new CEO made a huge change when he said that like every decision we make is going to be pushing one KPI, gross merchandise sales. And before that, they
Hmm.
didn't have the one metric that matters. And I just wanted to like call that out in their overall product strategy. I thought that was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Their other big thing is they have a seller side and a buyer side, and that's not unique when you think about marketplaces. So Airbnb would be similar. They would have the renting side and then the property owner side. So I split this product strategy out into two sides. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Great.
So let's just like do a quick overview of the sellers. Small independent craftspeople. They need to operate an efficient online sales channel. If you think about their customer, they're very busy doing other things, sort of the prototypical small business owner. So Etsy wants to get them selling quickly and take care of all of the like boring or time consuming parts of that process so that the craftsperson can focus on building more crafts.
Hmm.
They need to reach a larger audience, and they want to. I think there's like a big piece of this, which is brand, and Etsy doesn't like sort of helps maintain their identity as a craftsperson.
Hmm.
Um, Etsy gives them an easy to use e-commerce platform, has an audience of something like 100 million shoppers, so that's like a huge value proposition for these. Granted, there's 7.5 million vendors, but Etsy brings the audience to them, which is pretty amazing. And
Yeah.
they have a lot of community products for vendors to build relationships with other vendors. And how
Hmm.
do they make money by charging per listing? I didn't know that. So it's 20
Me
cents
neither.
per listing. Yeah.
Wow.
And we'll see that in their go-to-market strategy. They've turned these product listings into into credits, so they can incentivize behavior by saying we'll give you extra product listings for free. And they have a go ahead.
Is it the same price for every listing? Like you're selling $1,000 product or a $5 product, it's still the same price, 20 cents?
My assumption is that's correct, but
Okay, cool.
um, who knows for sure. So they definitely their channel strategy on the seller side is more viral and referral. So they again they invest heavily in their community products, so like these forums, these groups for people to like get together. And I think the idea is, there's a craftsperson, they're in that community of other craftspeople. Where do you sell online? I sell on Etsy. I think that's sort of the flywheel they're trying to build.
Makes sense.
Um, and it's the only e-commerce platform that's like dedicated to craftspeople at that level of scale. and it's got a low price point relative to the market, which I think makes sense. And they have these policies, policies like you must understand exactly how your products are made. They're really trying to encourage or enforce the fact that there's independent sellers on the platform. And I think those strong policies, you might think that's like it artificially limits them or like, arbitrarily limits who can be on the platform, but that's sort of the point because it really
Mm.
gives them a differentiated factor.
Yeah, I mean it reminds me of like Twitter's content limit, right? Or like it's almost like a Marshall McLuhan thing. The medium is the message, where they're like that creates a totally different experience than not having those constraints in place. And the experience is the value proposition, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, for the seller roadmap, I mean, I sort of inferred. Obviously, Tim Holly's not going to like give us a sneak peek on like what is coming down their pipe, right?
Yeah.
But we do know that for on the seller side and on the buyers on the shopper side that they're focused on retention. They got a huge bump of new vendors and shoppers during COVID, as many e-commerce companies did, and now they're
Mm.
trying to figure out how to retain them and get them to purchase, stick around longer and purchase multiple times.
Makes
So
sense.
they're really focused on things like how from the seller side, thinking about their core metric, right, of how do you increase the gross merchandise sales, um, incorporating UGC images, so user generated images in from their product reviews. It was really interesting. He's telling a story about how they want to incentivize the shoppers to leave photo reviews. Here's the product, me using it, and they want to take those pictures, those images, and get the sellers to use those images as the main product images. That's like
It's
the loop that
super.
they're trying to
That's really cool.
push.
It's like very authentic, right? It's like there's no fake reviews, and also it's like here's the thing in the wild, right? That's really cool.
Yeah, and the other thing that was interesting was like how they were centered on this KPI of gross merchandise sales, and they don't get stuck in this trap of like, are you building features for buyers or for sellers? If you look at this, this particular feature, it involves buyers and sellers, and they're working in concert to increase gross merchandise sales, which is better for both parties. So I thought that was like sort of really illustrated their KPI and what they're trying to
Mm.
push. And then yeah, so focusing like their seller product goals. Again, they're looking for retention, and maybe they might say 20. And when I say retention, they're looking for buyers to purchase multiple times. That is
Mm.
again pushes their gross merchandise sales KPI. So they might say something like, "We want 25% of new products to contain UGC images."
Yeah,
that was an example, just an
yeah,
example product goal. Because again, Tim's not getting into the weeds that deeply on like what their current product goals are.
right. So just one kind of meta note is, we have the roadmap coming after, we have goals coming after the roadmap,
Yeah,
and there's a reason for that. So this is kind of our choice, not Etsy's, obviously. And so I think that one thing that's interesting to note is like a lot of teams put goals first and then say, okay, well, here's the roadmap. Whereas in this case, the roadmap is all about how to deliver on the strategy, right? And the goals are how far can we get over a certain period of time. And so this is all based on the product strategy stack, which Reforge has a really good blog post about it that goes into this like roadmap or goals first kind of argument. And there's no right or wrong answer. I just wanted to comment on why we have goals coming after, because a lot of people might think that's backwards.
nice. Yeah, we should link to that as well so that
Yeah,
people can take a look at themselves. And
we'll put it in the
we
show
want to
notes.
keep this. Yeah, exactly. Show notes. We want to keep this short, but let's go through the buyer side. And what's interesting here is, what are the top three needs for an online shopper these days? And first of all, they have over 10 million SKUs, so they want to be the best in class search and discovery across 10 million SKUs. And I don't think any other, like I don't know if there's any other platform. Like maybe eBay has that many listings, but that's a huge amount of product to be dealing with.
Hmm.
They want to, provide human connections to independent craftspeople, and there's this element of trust, and because when a shopper is buying on Etsy, they're dealing with a brand that they've never heard of before. It's literally like a person in their garage, and so an idea of trust and security is actually really important. And again, who is the customer? The profile of this customer is people who have niche interests. Like, think of me with my I
Coffee,
need
yeah.
a specific mod for my specific coffee grinder, and
Yeah,
also the crafts fair patchouli type of feel good element if I want to support small independent craftspeople.
it's interesting. I'm like judging myself. I'm like, why don't I have a niche interest? But yeah, I guess I have. I just go to you about for coffee, right? So
Exactly, exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, if you were like, I need a really cool grinder, I'd be like, okay, here's the grinder you need to get. Now here's the 5 mods, and you can buy them on Etsy. So how is Etsy helping their buyers? Well, they have access to 7.5 million vendors and access to the millions of niche items created by all these craftspeople.
It's a
They have a
selection,
secure,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, just like a huge. It's that there's very few. It's like Amazon, eBay, and Etsy can provide that type of selection,
yeah.
but
Well,
it's totally different.
exactly. I remembered like Jeff Bezos's napkin sketch for Amazon. It's like, selection, a good user experience brings in more sellers, and it kind of like it reinforces you can find the image online. And it's funny to see Etsy selection is one of their things, and like
Hmm.
no one would think Etsy and Amazon are the same. They're like couldn't be further from the like a different product experience, right?
Totally. Um, Yeah, and then build this ongoing relationship with an independent craftspeople because they're making commerce more human, and there's this human element that the other big
Mhm.
platforms just don't care about, and that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Yep.
Their channel strategy is definitely around their long tail keywords. When you have 10 million SKUs, how you structure the data is really important, so it's discoverable. So long tail keywords, I know they have like a big initiative around SEO for their vendors.
Mhm.
Um, and then a big initiative around like the Google Shopping integration. So just basically the more you can structure your data, the easier it is for normal people to find when they head over to Google and want to discover their products.
Mhm. Mhm.
And their strategic differentiation, they compete with Amazon and eBay, and Etsy is differentiated by its policies. Buy from actual people, goods must be produced by the seller, and the manufacturing provenance must exist. You can't just like have a random product that you found on AliExpress that you're just selling.
Right.
That won't fly. You'll get banned from Etsy if you try to do that. Um, yeah, and then for the buyer roadmap, they care about things like improving product recommendations and closing the retention loop. So let's say you favorite a product. You click the little heart. They want to start showing you notifications like, "Hey, the product that you favorited is now on sale," or "The product you favorited is down to low inventory level." And so, yeah,
Mhm.
they're trying to really like get people to come back to the app if they've engaged with some way or even made a purchase. How do you get repeat behavior?
Mhm.
So I mean, they have some other stuff. I mean, Tim is not like a go-to-market sort of that's not his area of responsibility. He talks about a couple of other parts of the business, but I thought the really interesting and deepest part of the interview was on their product strategy. So I would
Yeah,
recommend anyone who's interested head over to Lenny's podcast and download that episode, or just I think you can read the transcript on his website as well.
cool. Yeah, we'll link to the in the show notes as well.
Cool. All right.
Nice.
Well, let's get back to work.
Okay. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.